As the world changes, religious systems are crumbling, with many people leaving institutions that no longer seem to fit.
Many are calling this the real reformation, the return to direct connection with Source, without the structure, without the label.
You're not going crazy. You're not lost. You're not broken. You're unchurching, and you are awakening.
Welcome to the Unchurching podcast.
There's just so much more. Welcome back to the podcast. So good to have you guys here and get to see you as well.
Yeah, first video pod, so this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I know, it's cool. I was like, wait, but we don't get to see anyone. They get to see us. Anyway,
okay, carry on.
So this is really cool. This is exciting. Like, it took us a little bit to get here, but I think we feel ready to take this next step in video podcasting, and I'm excited to do it. And I'm also looking forward to today's episode that we're going to record. We're going to try and get this done as best as we can. But coming off of last week's episode, when we kind of spoke more about the awakening process and how that affects our bodies physically, we thought a great next step after that episode would be for Clint to actually share his journey in depth this time with more detail, more grueling tales of the awakening, and really just bring everyone into the understanding of what he's been going through this last year. And so if you haven't listened to last week's episode, maybe go give it a listen. It'll just give you a great foundation as to awakening and a physical body awakening, what that can look like. And then, yeah, for those of you who are here, welcome. Thank you for being here, and I guess bear with us as we take on this mammoth task of trying to put a year's worth of your journey, almost a year, into an hour. Good luck.
Yeah, it's insane. And even the lazy eye that I'm noticing on the camera at the moment, this is not normally me. This eye's lazy because toxins tend to filter out your left side in the last stages. And so it's part of that. So we'll get into all this stuff. Making notes for the show today was actually quite difficult and quite an interesting little journaling type exercise.
That's good.
Man, because I realized two things. I realized how very much there is that's happened in 11 months. And I also realized how impossible it is to truly capture and express those moments. And if you're suffering with a chronic illness, or even if you're going through a mental awakening, things I guess it's just a human condition, really, that we go through these things and they're very real in the moment. And we want to kind of hang on to that feeling because we want to be able to share that with people. But as time passes, the feeling disappears. And I guess that's part of survival, part of the human nature. But it's amazing how much I just can't remember the realities. And that's a good survival thing, I guess. Because who wants to remember all the nights of pain and terror and things? If your body had to carry that trauma, it would be an absolute nightmare. So it's a good thing. But just to say, even though I'm going to share the story with you, it is impossible to get the perspective across to you. And I totally understand that. My hope for this journey is really less about me and more about you being able to pick things out of my story that can help you or someone around you who is either going through what might have been deemed a chronic illness, which might be an illness. We're not giving medical advice today. This has really got to do with physical awakening. So awakening through means of your physical body pulling you into awakening, generally because you haven't listened before, which was my case. Or it's for you going through awakening, if you realize, or for people around you that are going through awakening. And I hope that you'll be able to pick out some things here that will give you empathy for them and for yourselves, and that will guide you along some of the things that can help and give you understandings of some of the things that are happening. And not just from a, as I said, medical perspective, but this is truly about how your body pulls you into awakening through a physical means. The topic here is not health. The topic here is not my healing or my journey or my story even. The topic here is physical awakening. And as you've heard me mention before, some people awaken through mental means predominantly. Some people awaken through physical means. All of them involve aspects of physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental, those 4 quadrants. But mine has been predominantly the physical, and that's what I'll be sharing with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we always condense it to like physical or mental, but there's so many like spider legs that come off of those two, because a physical awakening can also be like someone having a car accident and having to recover through that. It's not necessarily getting sick or so. I think there's so many, I don't think we even know the ways.
Yeah. 11 months ago, that's where this started. And I remember hearing a friend saying that he had had these symptoms.
True.
And he had been through a 6-week healing process. And I thought to myself, 6 weeks is a long time. And I thought, oh my goodness, if I have to go through 6 weeks of this,
I remember.
I can make it. I think I can just make it. But it's a long time. And now we're 11 months in. On the 31st of December, I felt what was probably the fittest of my, let's say, latter adult life. You can't compare yourself to being a teenager. But I was fit. I was strong. I was gymming all the time. I was golfing. I was physically active. And that was New Year's Eve. That was the 31st. I can't say my mind was in a good place. It had been a very stressful time. Yeah. And we're going to come full circle back around to how I got myself in this situation.
Yeah, you did.
But on the 1st of January, everything changed in an instant. It was so quick. How quickly life can just vanish on you, can just disappear on you. Something that I never, ever thought I would go through in my life.
No. A
long-term chronic illness just completely sideswept me. And it started with just sort of hot flushes at night and then during the day. And that was the first day. By the second day, things just felt off. And I remember standing in the lounge, in the mantelpiece, all the Christmas decorations up still and everything, leaning on it and just starting to feel shakes.
Oh, no way.
Shakes in my body, yeah. And I wondered if it was a recurrence of an anxiety attack or what it was. But all in all, I just felt like this is probably just like a 24-hour flu type thing. And it'll be gone soon enough.
Yeah.
Well, by the following evening, day 3, I felt terrible. I mean, the day I just had no energy. I was completely spent. But the real turning point of going, oh, shit, this is something more serious than we realized, was in that evening when I was standing in the lounge and Rachelle was standing in the kitchen. She could see me. And my body, my entire body, went into total spasm. Now, the best way I can describe it to you is when you see movies of somebody in an electric chair.
Or getting exercised in an exorcism.
Or getting exercise in exorcism, which surprisingly, I mean, I'm surprised you didn't come across and try to cast a demon out of me, considering some of we were already out of church for about 1.5 years by then.
Yeah.
Or 2 years.
2 years.
So I don't think you really wanted to step back into that space.
No, but I was like, is this a demon now for real? Like 2 years after church, there's a demon in my husband?
I'm sure you thought that. But these spasms that looked exactly like being in an electric chair would come every minute and a half. And they came over and over again for the better part of what felt like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it felt, it was intense.
In between, I would feel like my body was catching breath again. So I'd have this intense spasm that I had no control over my body. Like really never thought a body could take that much pain. Honestly, to this day, take that much pain in a moment without passing out. And then it would like catch its breath and then it would hit again. And we had no idea what was going on. You must, I don't know, you kind of froze. You didn't even really know what was.
No, it was a lot of information to take in. Because you went from like, I knew you were like uncomfortable and in pain, but it went from like 0 to escalate within like a split second. And I think I actually laughed at you. I did.
Yeah.
Because I was so overwhelmed with like like, what the fuck is going on? Because it was so far outside of my grid from anything I've ever seen a human body like do, especially
Yeah.
you. And so, yeah, I remember
Yeah, I mean, I can do
like, I
Running
was
Man,
so
but I can't
uncomfortable.
shake like that. That was like some serious booty shaking going on.
You
For
can
real.
do Running Man. Yes, you can. But yeah, it was, I really didn't know. There was nothing I could do in that moment because you didn't even know what was going on with you. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was awful.
Yeah, it was wild. And those first few months were just really confusing. You know, it's very difficult. Like moving to America after you've lived in other countries, you gain a rapid distrust for the medical system. That first night, we did actually go to an emergency clinic. I don't even know how I got in the car. I remember dragging myself into the car. I don't know how. You literally got a wheelchair and wheelchaired me into the ER, where we won't go into the details, but were absolutely effing useless.
It was the worst experience I've ever had and it was private medical care. This is
I have had better medical care in Africa.
Yeah. And in the Middle East, that was not even, that was government, like medical care in the Middle East was better.
It was atrocious.
Yeah.
And so, so after coming home with just a tablet for back spasms, and sent on my merry way, mostly because we don't have medical insurance, so I imagine we were treated quite differently. We then started to take this on, and I don't know why, but for some reason we decided not to pursue the route of medical in terms of traditional medical.
Well, no, I think I know why, because you had, from a medical experience you had in 2021, we had discovered this wellness center and they helped you with treatment and recovery through. I don't know how much you want to talk about that experience because it's not really relevant.
I mean, that's fine. It's not relevant, but I had testicular cancer. I prefer to mention it because it's something, you know, breast cancer is spoken about a lot. Testicular cancer is not, and it should be. So guys, you've got to check your goods. And get checked out if you feel a lump or anything. And I did that, fortunately, very quickly and didn't have to do chemo or anything like that. It was a surgical removal. But still, I thought that was probably the hardest thing I'd face in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, and we, looking back on that now as well, we're like, we can see how your body was starting to speak to you from that experience, saying like, bruh, you're not looking after me properly. Like, this is a consequence of what you've already been doing to your body stress-wise. And so I guess had you listened or known, but it happened so quick, like you had it was removed, and then we kind of swiftly moved on with life because so anyway,
which had its struggles of its own.
Yeah. And that's where you started going to this wellness center, and they did the blood reoxygenation and the IVs and all this like really great holistic treatment. And so I think for us, it was an obvious choice because they're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So amidst the confusion, the first few weeks were just covered by Advil, really, sponsored by Advil. So much Advil because in South Africa, you can get some pretty good drugs over the counter. Yeah, not so much. And I also just don't trust it. So I was Adviling it. To a later detriment of leaky gut that actually caused a lot of toxin into my body. And so that was not good, that much ibuprofen as well. I was probably taking 4 Advil, maybe 4 times a day.
Holy crap, really? That's how much you were taking?
On the rough days, yeah, probably about that.
I don't think I was aware you were taking that much. That's a lot.
On average, probably maybe twice a day, 4 to 8 tablets a day.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. No, that's a shit ton.
And so in between all this confusion, I really felt like my life was stripped away immediately. Like my identity was stripped away immediately. Nothing that I could do that I enjoyed before could I do anymore. Even just standing in the kitchen how we would, putting music on and dancing while we cooked, it disappeared. It vanished like that.
Yeah, everything.
Our love life vanished like that. Just everything that I could do, the ability to create
Go
income,
out.
vanish like
Create
that, go
income.
out anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And along with that came the ability to eat certain foods, vanished. It's amazing how quickly your life can just be taken away and how little we realize that when we're healthy.
Yeah. You hear people say that all the time. Like, life changes in an instant. And it's such a good cliche. And you're like, yeah, life changes in an instant, whatever. That won't happen to me. But, and this is cliche too, when it does, you realize, oh, crap, it's true.
Yeah.
It's really true.
In an instant. This was also the start of me having to learn how to sleep, what position I could sleep in.
Oh my gosh.
Because my body would fill with aches and swelling. And my right leg swelled up so massively for months. It was purple for so many months. My body started trying to filter things. I can't even remember all of it. It was crazy headaches. It was all kinds of things. My body was basically highly toxic and releasing these toxins and trying to work through them. My liver, my spleen, everything trying to work, but I had no idea what was going on. It was the start of insomnia, trying to sleep in different positions that I could even get comfortable or pain-free in. I don't think I was pain-free at all.
Yeah.
But so many different sleeping positions. And for the first 3 weeks, the only way I could sleep was sitting on a foam roller downstairs, not even in bed with you, in the lounge, leaning against the couch, a foam roller on the ground, leaning my body against the couch with a few pillows stacked, sitting there. That is the only way I could find any sleep or rest for the first 3 weeks.
It's ridiculous.
And when I had to get up, it was really hard to get up. You were literally carrying me around the house on your back. Thank God for CrossFit. But carrying me up the stairs, carrying me around, carrying me into Epsom salt baths every morning, or sometimes at 2 a.m. in the morning. That continued on through 10 months. And of all of these things that have been really hard, I think the insomnia has been one of the worst.
Yeah. Oh, man.
The way it affects your mood, your brain, your overall energy, everything. There was a short period a few months ago when I could sleep well, and the effect it had on my body was unbelievably good.
Yeah.
And so the insomnia began there. And it was just like life changed in an instant.
Yeah. And then I think you got to such a point where we didn't know what to do with you anymore. And I think that's when we thought, okay, let's call up the wellness center. Let's see what they can do. And they said, like, come in and let's do this first treatment, which is one of the main treatments they do there, which is where they remove a bag of your blood, fill it re-oxygenated, because, oxygen like attacks the virus and all the stuff and brings healing into your body. Fill your blood with oxygen and then re-pump it into your body where it re-oxygenates your entire blood system. And so they were like, come in for that treatment. And I remember walking in that door with you. Yes, and you could hardly even walk in there. And
I was leaning on you like a beaten up boxer.
Yeah, you were rough, but I mean, you
I
still
honestly
had, like,
wanted
your
to
body
crawl.
weight.
I mean, I wanted to crawl. Yeah.
I know. You still had your body weight on you. You hadn't lost all the weight yet either. And so you just looked super rough. And then we got to see your doctor who had worked with you during the other stint. And yeah, I mean, keep going with the story, I guess. I don't want to steal your story.
No, you can. I'm just reminiscing about how much I hate needles and how many needles I had in that place. Man, it was like 3 needles at a time. I think this day alone was 4 needles. But you carry on the story.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
so
bad for
enjoying
you.
hearing about this. But go on.
We had just come from the stupid private hospital place that gave you a back spasm
This is
tablet.
about 3 weeks. About 3 weeks later, we went to the wellness center.
Yes, and that woman had like stabbed your arm to death to try and find a vein. So you're already like super traumatized because you're already traumatized by needles. But so you come in here and they're like, okay, yeah, we're going to stick some more needles. I remember you were so nervous, but they were so good. Like they had like the peppermint oil for you to like smell. And
you don't need all these details.
It was amazing.
Everybody knows that I was the worst with needles. They did a great job.
Okay.
Carry on.
So yes,
this episode's going to be like 5 hours when I move you along.
Okay. This is why Rachelle doesn't tell stories.
Keep going, Rachelle.
I remember them starting to take blood from you, because they have to first remove your blood before they put it in. And I was like, I have never seen black blood in my life before. And is this freaking normal? It was, because you wouldn't look at your own blood, obviously, because you're terrified of it. And so I was sitting there going like, oh shit. And the doctor's face was like, oh shit, this is not good. And that's when I think they brought that blood specialist in to come and like assess your blood.
Yeah, it was black. I mean, I did look at it that day. It was black. And yeah, I mean, you're going to help my memory here, but it was amazing. He's excellent. He's an old man. If he doesn't mind saying that, but what I mean by old is wise. But I think he's in his 70s.
Yeah.
And he was a anesthetist, but now he specializes in blood, and particularly looking at the blood as related to the story of your life. And we'd never heard of anything like this before, but he had literally put this blood under these microscopes and look at it, and he would tell you, this is trauma that's in your body. This is generational stuff that's in your body. And you could physically see it in these images.
Yeah.
And then he'd show you like what is trying to clear it out and such. And so he was amazing. He sat for hours trying to get the blood back into me after it had been oxygenated, because it was still that thick. And if you remember, the tube, I can't believe I'm telling this part of the story, the tube would actually get stuck and he'd have to open it up and clear it. And we pulled the blood out that was blocking. It was like jello. It was black and globular. Now, I do want to say something here. I think we're in a space nowadays where we can say it. I never had the vaccine for COVID. I've never had any of the mRNA vaccinations. And I think it's worth mentioning because we know how many complications are coming out about those things. And as a side note, if you have had them, I would highly encourage you to look at how to clear those heavy metals out of your body.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yet the one thing that they did say to me is that the count of heavy metals in my body were off the charts.
Yeah.
Now, we never came to grips with what the actual cause of this was at that point. We did later on. It was just to us an unknown virus.
Yeah.
And then he started speaking to us while we were there, because we were supposed to be there for an hour and a half. We were there for about 5 hours, I think.
Yeah.
It took so long to do all this, and multiple needles and all this stuff that gives you all this time to have these conversations. And so he started sharing more about this storyline of things, and he started asking me questions, not telling me things, asking me questions like, what do you think the greatest trauma was in your life? What was your childhood like? What bad situation happened to you? And everything I'd start sharing with him, he was like, yep. Let me tell you about generational trauma. Let me tell you about how things are carried in your body, not just from what you have gone through, but inherited from your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, generational stuff that's in your body at birth that you don't have a choice over.
Yeah.
Now, it just so happens that the stuff I could have worked on, I did have a choice over and had not yet. But to realize that we carry that stuff in our bodies, I think that whole conversation that happened with him was the very beginning of me realizing, oh, this is more than just a physical thing. There's something deeply soul realm, spiritual, beyond my current understanding happening here. And that turned out to be physical awakening, which is actually just awakening through physical means.
Yeah, it was wild. The way he spoke about stuff, and he knew stuff, like he knew stuff. He spoke about things to do with like your mom and like grandparents without even having any background to your story. And he could just sense it. I don't know, this guy, I don't know, do you think he actually worked there? Maybe he was like an angel that came in like, for the day. Because we didn't see him again after that day.
He might have been an ET. I don't know.
Maybe it was an alien that came in. But
Maybe.
he just... If we hadn't had that experience,
no, I did text him back and forth. So, and I know AT&T doesn't have that kind of reception, so he must have been on Earth.
Dude, maybe
Yeah.
he's just hiding out on Earth as an alien. Anyway, if he didn't on that day give us the insight into, because when he was speaking, it resonated so hard with me. It resonated so hard with you. We were like, oh shit, we can see exactly what's going on. This is not a medical condition. This is something I don't know. I knew that this was going to be a little journey. I didn't realize how long the journey was going to be, but I was like, there's some stuff we need to work out. Yeah. And he spoke about groups that would meet to reenact these relationships of parent relationship, siblings, and people would actually react in a way as your mother would, as like you set it up. And it was the first time we heard of like conscious community, like doing this work, like tapping into healing processes and these weird, new and wonderful things that we hadn't heard of before. This was the day. And I think without that day happening, you would have not been able to push through this. I think you would have gone the other route and just been like, just take me into the hospital and give me painkillers. Like, I'm done with this pain. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's back up a little bit. Let's look at how I actually got to this point.
Good
Because
idea.
this is very helpful for you. See, if you can get tips for going through healing in terms of reshaping your mind and being aware of what's happening and all these sort of things, particularly healing in terms of physical awakening, that's one thing. But what if you could actually not go through it? What if you could actually avoid it and awaken without it? Which, I mean, why? Why couldn't you? I do think that all awakening has a certain level of suffering, but that suffering can just be facing our past, facing our shadows, which is hard enough. It doesn't have to push you to physical exhaustion. The reason we get pushed to physical exhaustion most of the time is, yes, sometimes it can be incident, but a lot of the time it's because of how we've treated our lifestyle, how we've treated our bodies, how we've treated ourselves. And that certainly was true for me. As I reflected through the months of awakening, what I thought had happened from the 31st of December to the 1st of January actually found its root about 6 months earlier. I had been running a startup that I founded, and we were in our 4th year, just over our 4th year, and they were very difficult times. And I'd come to a place there where my general attitude about the startup had changed from all the people that we want to help to escaping it. It was just so much to carry. It was so much stress and no seemingly way out. And there wasn't. The startup has since closed down. And that's a journey of its own, having released that dream, yet having had it served its purpose. And I think this was a big part of its purpose. I got sucked into the startup world, and I never thought I was sucked into it. The hustle, the way that you have to be, the pressures of trying to get this right for your investors, the timeline that you create for yourself and against the clock, just all the things that go with startup life. There's probably a whole episode here just for startup founders and just trying to help you understand what you shouldn't be doing. But I thought I was doing well. I really thought I was doing well. I thought I was leading our staff well. I thought I was on point still. Product was being developed. We had brought things to the market for the first time that had never been done before, and they were being successful before we hit the years of financial difficulty due to the financial crisis. And so carrying this responsibility, carrying all of these things, and a lot of it was stuff that I'd carried in attitude my whole life, the way that I approached things, the way that I carried things. And so I was wrapped up in this world, and the stress of it had really caused me to be in a place of emotional flatness in a way. I guess it was actually depression and total exhaustion, but needing to keep pushing. I've lost passion. I lost desire, but I had to keep going. There was a numbness about it all. And I'm telling you these things because maybe you can relate. And this might not even be a startup. A lot of people live like this all the time. This kind of stress in your life. Yeah. This kind of stress in your life. And you just let it sit there. Don't let it sit there. I remember numbing myself with weed and with gummies, which I think a lot of people are doing at the moment with gummies. And since then, I've got a massive new approach to these plant medicines, but I was using them in an unhealthy way. I was using them to escape. And when I say I was numbing, I'd be on a gummy pretty much the whole day, every day.
Yeah.
and then getting off work, I was smoking weed heavily into the night. There's nothing wrong with weed and gummies, but the reality is that through ancient times, they've been used to thin the veil, to open presence, and to open experience with greater levels of dimension. Whereas when you're using them in the reverse, as everything can be used for good or bad, you're using them not to be present, but to escape.
Yeah.
And that can wreak havoc on you. That's where we see the ill sides of it. And so like everything, there's a good way to use it and a bad way. Alcohol for cleaning a wound is fantastic. Alcohol for putting in your body is a shit idea. So there's a good example for you that probably most of us can relate to. This show is not sponsored by Budweiser. And so I've learned that there was a lot of time that I'd spent pushing through instead of resting. I was waking up all times of the night. I had a notepad next to the bed. I rolled over. I wrote down ideas. My mind was busy all the time. If I was awake at 3 a.m., I got up and worked. I worked 16 to sometimes 20-hour days just in my little office for 4 years. It was a prison I created with the hope that one day I would find the golden egg at the end of the rainbow and that would set us free and everything would be good. And so this is where I was. And what I didn't realize was that while I was doing all this, I was not only operating out of conditioning that had happened to me from childhood, like carrying the responsibility that I gained probably as a child of a single mom who had to become the man of the house, or maybe even earlier than that when I had an abusive stepfather.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I started carrying responsibility for me and mostly for everyone around me. I would take people's difficulties and wear them on my own shoulders, so, very often without them knowing, and I would carry that weight, believing that some way, somehow, someday I can fix the problem for them. And you cannot do it. You cannot carry other people's weight.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of everybody needing to be sovereign, and you being sovereign yourself as well. And so I realized this conditioning. There was this conditioning of immense responsibility and weight put on me by the church and my religious life, this incredible sense of duty that was far beyond where it needed to be, to an healthy state. And only later would I discover what this kind of lifestyle was doing to systems that I never even considered were at play. Systems that I would learn about way later in the journey, because for the first 4 months, I was still completely lost in this. For 4 months, had no idea why I was suffering, and I was suffering real bad.
I think it was even longer than
really
that.
badly.
I mean, it was even longer.
It might have been more.
I mean, I know you're going to get to from Hudson's ceremony onwards, but that was only June, right? That's 6 months.
Wow.
That's 6 months before you even saw Hudson. So
yeah, one thing that gets stolen from you is time. I honestly don't have much concept of this whole year.
Yeah.
Of what's going on. Days and nights bleed together. Pains bleed together.
Yeah, and the wild thing about that time, like those 6 months before this virus or whatever hit in January, it was 6 months before that, which is crazy because my awakening journey started 6 months before yours did at the same time. And so I was actually I don't know if it was done on purpose that way, that the universe had me so consumed in my own head and my own issues and my own awakening, because I was going through all the mental battles. For 6 months, I had mental battles. When I got to December 31st, I was like, oh my gosh, finally this year's over. I feel like I'm finally like back to myself again. And I was like, let's freaking go 2025, which I think a lot of people did. And then January 1st literally kicked in, your journey started, and I was like, what is happening? But I had become, in the interim, through my process, I had become the kind of person that was able to hold space for you to be able to go through your journey. And so if that's not freaking timing, like time to the T, because it was time to the T, then I don't know what is, because it couldn't have been more intentional. I was so healed and whole and like ready for this journey when yours started. And then literally had my transformation what I feel like was fully into like being awake in May. And then from May to now, I've been in a really great place to help you through this, but also still going through my own journey. It's crazy. It's crazy how that worked out.
It's amazing. And even when you pick up breadcrumbs through the story along the way, you realize like there was one night when you fainted, hit your head, and went into a spasm. And we had to have 911 come out. And this happened right after I'd been through I thought I was getting better. I thought I was through it all, actually.
It was like March, February, March.
Yeah, I'd actually driven a short distance for the first time the day before. And I only felt good for like 3 days. And good, I mean, like still hobbling, still in pain, but it was healthy enough to drive you to the ER that night after 911 had come out. And only for that period. So when you look back and you think timing and you think, guys, when you're going through this, if you'll just let it be, the universe or whatever you want to call it, God's source, is still in control.
Oh, 100%.
Is still, there is you can just see in breadcrumbs like that where there is a plan still.
Yes. And I think to get on that timeline, all you have to do is align your will to the will of God and be like, I am willing, God, to live towards your will for my life. Because essentially Source knows why your soul is on planet Earth, how it's supposed to evolve and grow through this awakening journey. And so as soon as you go, and I think we both had gotten to that place where we started to understand more about consciousness and we're like, okay, let's go. We're on this journey now. And that's when things started kicking in. But I also remember so clearly how I think what happened to me, because it was so out of the blue, like I've never passed out in my life or relationship with you. No, I've never passed out my entire life. It happens at that point when you can also have that experience with me, because that did something to you. That night when you thought that you had lost me, because essentially you did, it looked like I was having a seizure to you and I wasn't responsive for a while. And then having to call 911, having the medics and the whole freaking fire brigade came.
I thought you died in my arms. It was just very traumatic. And I honestly thought you had died in my arms.
But what it did for you, I think, as well, is unlock another layer of this trauma release of stuff that you needed to address. You need to be like, you need to be brought back down to earth and be like, okay, I need to focus myself on the things that matter again, because you've gotten so lost in the startup world. I think the universe was like, this is what matters. She matters. Get your focus right, because it was like day and night, like that experience. You
right.
changed so much from that experience.
No, you're right. It definitely did that. It definitely made me realize the value of what we have and our relationship, our marriage, our friendship, our soulmate-ness. Just that you're the priority in my life, and losing that, I don't know how I would have carried on with life at that point, honestly.
No, and I don't think you were ever going to lose me.
At very best, I would have been a hermit.
Yeah, I think the purpose was what the purpose was, and it was never to lose me. I was never in danger. I was divinely protected in that moment. I know I was, and so I never thought. Yeah, but I think it was very strategically thrown into your journey. That,
I think the value of life's really interesting when you speak about it. That in terms of that and that value of life, yes, massive. But there was another value of life that I never told you about, that I never thought I'd face, and has given me so much empathy. I mean, I told you about later, but I didn't tell you about it at the time. That has given me a lot of empathy for people. Coming through the cancer thing prior, I really thought I'd gained a lot of empathy for people.
Yeah.
Coming through the depression that we had when we moved to LA, when we first moved to America, I also thought I'd gained a lot of empathy for people. But it all paled in significance to these last 11 months. And one of those moments was when you were out one day and I had been in solid pain for quite some time. I think this was probably about 3 months in, or maybe just a little more. And I remember sitting on the edge of our bed with my gun in my hand and truly considering ending it. Truly considering both not being in that pain anymore and also very truly not dragging you through it.
Mm-hmm.
You were carrying me around. I saw your life go on hold. I saw the burden being carried on you. And I just didn't think that was fair. And we've had an amazing life together, and you sort of start convincing yourself that you've had a good run and that you would be freer without me.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, I could understand somebody coming to that point.
Yeah.
I remember being in church years prior, big mega church, 30,000 people when I was a lot younger. And there was a girl on the choir who took her own life. And she was actually very happy and jolly. And we could not figure it out. But when we heard about the note that she'd left behind, the story was actually that she had had a long battle with cancer prior. And that week she'd found out that it was back.
Oof.
And her note was simply, I don't want to go through this again.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Yeah.
I can't face this again.
Man, I get
And that gave me a lot of empathy then, but I never understood it till I sat on the edge of that bed.
Yeah.
And so I can empathize with that. All I can tell you is that if you're in that place, or if you reach that place, there's nothing I can tell you that would make sense to you in that moment. But I hope that some points come to mind that the term that time as a healer is actually very true.
Mm-hmm.
The reality as you understand it in that moment is actually very false.
Yeah.
There's a present living that transcends that moment. And I don't know that somebody who's awakened properly would actually take their life. I'm not sure. I don't know. I know that they could end it with the thought that, oh, I'm a soul and I'll just carry on in soul. Well, the reality is that from what I've learned, you'll come back and do this journey again to learn this lesson again. Whatever
Okay.
you came here to learn through your life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying what I've heard. But I guess I just want you to know that things can always get better. It's so hard because I don't even really know what to say to you if you're in that position. But I hope that you just come to a point where you realize ultimately there are people out there, even if you haven't met them yet, that care about you and that will care about you. And there are things that you'll learn and grow into. I mean, look, I'm here sharing this story with you and trying to encourage you. And I didn't pull that trigger. And I'm sorry if that, excuse the stupid pun, it wasn't meant to be. I'm sorry if that triggers anybody, because I know that talk about these things can. But I think we also need to be in a space where we can speak openly about these things.
Yeah.
Now, if I had pulled that trigger that day, I wouldn't be here encouraging you. And the same goes for you. You have a role to encourage others. That is the collective consciousness of growth, of the human story.
Yeah. And that's only that's only the part of your story you see right now, up until where you are. I don't think the whole fullness of like what this is actually going to entail and how impactful it can be, we don't even know yet. And so, but yes, in that moment, I understand the same thing. Like if you just don't want to be here anymore, you just don't want to be here anymore. There's not a lot that can help, but yeah, the thought that we just don't know and that actually anything can change in a minute, just as things could get really bad really quickly, things can get really good really quickly too. And so you just, I don't know.
Very quickly, yeah. That's true. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
The next step was really when you met Hudson, who we've done an interview with. He's a shaman friend of ours. You can go back and listen to that one. I shared a lot of details of my first experience with him there. But visiting, I mean, he wasn't a friend yet. He was just a shaman acquaintance at that point.
A shaman acquaintance.
You know, I'd come to a point where I had lost a lot of weight by that stage.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking the most frail I'd ever looked in my life till that point. And man, I mean, I walked in there like a ghost and did mushrooms, plant medicine, which is part of the process to get yourself into the right space and to thin the veil. And I think the biggest thing there as part of my awakening journey, because remember I said this is not just a physical journey, this is an awakening journey, was this greater understanding of the spiritual broadness of things, other entities, other powers, other authorities, and all full of love and respect. And I really encourage you, if that throws you off, go listen to that episode with Hudson, who went from a soldier to being a shaman. And you know, I think that day for me, I always thought of myself was, man, it was rough. I mean, guys had to carry me to the restroom and stuff. And I really thought of that as being the day that I was reborn.
Mm-hmm. It looked like
and it became real to me. Right. And it became real to me that that was what Jesus said about being born again. I really felt like I was dying that day. Now, to be honest with you, if I look back now, maybe there's more than one rebirth, or that was more the day of death or conception even, maybe just awakening conception, because there's a day that came later, not too long ago, where I really did believe I was going to physically die.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like one or the other or one and done either. I think there's a constant, I think there's parts of your psyche, there's parts of your ego that all cling on to different things. And so I think things have to die off. It's the shedding that happens, right? And so I think you shed, and there might be a moment of like full death and rebirth. But if we look at the themes that run through like a lot of our stories, even Hudson, before he started practicing a lot what he's practicing now, he had a near-death experience physically in a ceremony where he also lost all connection to him as a physical being and had thought he had died. I had the same thing. Mine came through a dream, because that's just how my gifting and creative connection happens. And so I had a near-death experience in a dream. And so it's a definite theme. There's definite, Jesus knew what he was talking about when it comes to this. And I think, yes, that was your first or second big death experience.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Jesus did know what he was talking about. Who knows?
Yeah.
So the shaman experience was really great for me, but I think the most amazing thing that came out of it was just love. I didn't know this person, and yet he is loving on me like this. I didn't know these entities, these ancient authorities, yet they were full of love. And so it really, I was trying to be as open as I could be at that stage, but it really rocked my world. And then we had friends then that come into our life, and it was really interesting because it was also all love. So much love from these people, and they never knew me before. They still have never known the person I was before. When I joined this friend group, I was already suffering. I was already skinny. I was already being humbled, because there's a lot of shame around needing help all the time. You know, Rachelle was carrying me around the house, like I said. Rachelle was fetching all the things for me every time I needed something. Rachelle was earning all the money she could to keep us afloat. You know, it all landed on her, cooking all the meals, doing all the house chores, everything. And in the middle of which, because of financial difficulty, we ended up moving house into an apartment. You know, I mean, I just don't even know how we did that, but
I don't know.
Having friends come around us was really amazing. This is actually just after we moved.
Life-changing.
Life-changing, and really gave the energy to carry. But it made me face my own things as well, as in letting go of my ego, letting people see me in my weakness and letting them help me. that required so much humility from me.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to miss out on things and not have them judge you for it, or being able to arrive at something that you're getting together for and just sit in the chair for all the hours. Now I'm so comfortable I don't mind falling asleep in the chair if I need to.
Yeah.
But these are things that are learnings. And the following months, the following healing months that started, really started to get us on the right track. We started to understand awakening because of these friends. We started learning more. Rachelle's going through her awakening, so we're already reading some stuff, going through some stuff, and this just amplified it. I did a mentorship with one of our friends, Justin Lovato, who we did an interview with as well on the podcast, so go back and listen to that one. Phenomenal episode. We started learning different modalities. We started learning about, obviously, we've spoken about these things before, but breath work and grounding, and sunlight, and food, how to feed your body, probably how to use food as a medicine. We ran a GoFundMe and people were very generous. It's amazing how quickly money disappears. We still have a GoFundMe running. It's amazing how quickly it disappears in this country when you're trying to get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to really understand the value of learning about my body, understanding what I was going through, this connection between how my body was not punishing me, but leading me into learning. And there was a journey around me letting that happen and listening to that. I'm rattling things off now because there's so much to go through, and this is already going to be a longer episode than usual, but there's so much value. But some of these things, you're just going to have to pick up the list and find them out for yourself, or we can chat about it. So learning my body, managing my energy and managing my healing was another one. I mean, I've only really gotten good at that lately, saying no to things.
Yeah.
Managing it. Probably only the last month have I actually gotten good at that.
Yeah.
Before, any bit of energy I had, I'd use.
Yeah.
When your body's healing from stuff like this, you don't realize the amount of energy that is taking place inside your body. And so you think you're flat and you're not doing anything. You might feel guilty for lying on the couch for all those days or in bed. Others might think you're lazy and say things about you. Listen, man, your body takes a lot of energy to heal. And don't think that you're going to sit on the couch on that laptop either, because your brain uses a lot of energy. It's only when you don't have it that you realize how much energy your brain and thinking and doing simple tasks takes that we don't deem physical. Your body needs that energy to heal. Once it's finished healing what it needs to heal, the energy will return externally. But you need to learn how to give it that energy, because we don't see it as a task. We don't learn how to rest.
Yeah. I think that should be something everyone practices, tapping into like your body systems and knowing how to reinvigorate it and like re-energize. I mean, we watched some sacred geometry today on Gaia about that energy system and how to like tap into it to actually restore your energy back. And it's got to do with everything that's around you, nature. Most of these things don't cost anything and has been given to us by God to help us do exactly that and rest and disconnect and get present. And I don't think a lot of people see it as valuable as what it actually is.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the energy that you do have, that it does afford you, you need to put that in the right places.
That too.
Like you need to help your body heal.
Yeah.
If you are truly going to be sovereign, which is part of this awakening journey, is to become sovereign, which means that you are your own person and you actually sovereign as a lord living on a land. And I was taught this by a very close friend of ours, Zach or Sarael, who you'll get to know him as when we have him on the podcast soon. If you are sovereign over your land, if you're lord of your land, then you are in control of this land. Actually, not even just this body, but also your energy that surrounds you. You are in control of that. That's your job. And so helping your body and your field energy heal and be positive and being healthy is actually part of your job. And so learning to put your energy behind that, the energy that you do have, is important. And it comes through practical things like self-talk. I had to learn how to talk to my body. Instead of being in a place of body, this sucks. Why are you doing this again? Now I'm swollen again. Oh, no, now I've got pain again. And professing all of that actually, come on, body, we're working on this. I've got you. You're doing a great job. I go crazy speaking to my body through the day now at the
Yeah.
moment. And everybody can learn from this. Everybody can
Yeah.
learn from this. You can do this to your body. Even if you're
Yeah.
just stiff, speak to your body. Go, yeah, body, that was a great workout. You're doing great. Work that lactic acid out, boy. Let's go. You're looking
Yeah.
hot, girl. What a booty. Come on.
Oh man, that's cool. What's very cool as well is I started speaking to your body that way. Like every time I give you a hug, I'll be like, okay, come on, body, you're doing
Yes.
so great. And like
Oh,
when I hug you, I'm like, then I step into like affirming it. And then the best part as well is I'll just text our friends when you're having like a harder day, and all they do is they'll sit and in their meditations and in their practices on those days, they will just picture you in your healthier state. So Justin would literally be, oh man, Clint, I can just see you doing kettlebell workouts with us at the gym soon. And our whole community is picturing you in your highest state, most healed state, and they're sending you that energy and love. And every time they're around you, they're doing the same thing about like, man, I can just see you running again, and like us running around together. And the power of that, like people get so scared when their loved ones get sick and ill. And I was this person too. My natural response is flight or separation. Like I want to separate from this because it's too hard to deal with and I don't want to get hurt. So I need to shut myself off. And so many people do that as a natural response mechanism. But if you can embrace what your people are going through and just get in this together, I mean, I feel like your healing's actually been quicker than what it could have been because of how intentional everyone we know has been towards you. Even the people who give to the GoFundMe, you know, like money is energy. They're taking their resources as energetic and giving it to us to help us energetically go on this journey and keep going. And so it's a big deal. All of that. It's such a big deal.
Yeah, it is. It's massive. And it is energy. When you speak about speaking those words to me, that is energy. I can feel that energy come in. Having your loved one touch you, put hands on you, and actually intentionally try and transfer love and energy to you makes a big difference. When you feel pain in your body, actually stopping, closing your eyes, and sending love to that area. I learned this recently, also from Cyril. You do that, and it actually works. It helps. Words carry energy. Words carry love. Speak to your own body. The fact that you're told that's narcissistic is absolutely ridiculous. It is not. It is for your health. And so I would start employing these things in places that I hadn't before. So when I list these things, just remember, I've been through these without the good self-talk. I've been through these on the negative side as well, where I've been completely beating myself up about them. And I've been through them on the self-talk side that has changed how I look at them. So the long nights, for example, man, when you're awake through the night, that night feels very long. It is extremely long, especially when you're in pain. Every minute feels like an hour. Every hour feels like 8 hours. It's so long. I can't even explain to you. And it's not even like I would cry about it. I would feel more like a deer in the headlights. Like when you see an animal that is in intense pain and you see their eyes glaze over, that is how I felt. That is how I've felt for probably more than half of this journey.
Yeah.
You just feel completely glazed. And I think insomnia has something to do with that as well. But you almost become grateful for it because you the next day the pain is kind of forgotten. But what you don't realize, it was so traumatic and it has that effect on your body.
Yeah.
And you've got to deal with that. And so dealing with that up front with positive self-talk is a massive thing that took me from feeling frustrated in those moments, frustrated that I was feeling pain again, frustrated that I was still going through this, frustrated that I was still sick, to gratitude. I'd be like, okay, well, the reality is that I can stand up now. That's really nice. The reality is that my body is working. It might be feeling this pain, but it is working. It's working on it. And whatever you can find to self-talk and to be grateful for, I was grateful, even going back to our story earlier, that Rachelle was still alive, that she didn't die in my arms that night. And you can find many, many things, but you have to stop being grateful. And I encourage you to just practice that and expand your world about it as well. But other things that I faced as well were like 3-minute time trials. I would literally, I literally knew that when I stand up, I had 3 minutes. 3 minutes before the kind of pain would kick in where I absolutely had to sit down and rest for a while. Now let's think about that. Going to the toilet. Have you ever tried to poop in pain? It's hard, guys. It's hard. Have you ever tried to pee
I was
in
not ready
pain?
for that.
And yes, guys, I've had a year of peeing like a girl sitting down. Yeah, it's not so funny when you don't have a choice. Okay. I can share some gruesome things with you. When I talk about swelling, I mean down there. Swelling, size of softball swelling. Okay. That's very uncomfortable. It's very difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
I can go into a lot of details for you. There are toilets that you don't fit in, to be frank with you.
Mm-hmm.
Some toilets are bigger than others.
Jeez.
You sit down and you have to squeeze already swollen, painful things in to try and fit stuff. I haven't even shared this with Rachelle, but I'm going to put it on the podcast.
You can see my face. It's like,
And
oh
so-
yeah, I didn't think of that.
And so think about even brushing your teeth. 3 minutes. Now, if I want to get ready for bed, I'm going to brush my teeth and go to the toilet. That can't be done in 3 minutes.
Oh, babe.
Can't
this
be
is
done.
Terrible.
So I'd have to like brush my teeth or lie down on the bed brushing my teeth, rest, get up, plan it again, go to the bathroom. I've got 3 minutes, then get back to bed. Now try that in the middle of the night when you're waking up every hour or more,
Yeah.
and you know that you've got 3 minutes to do stuff. This was one of the most taxing things. It was living under the clock. And what I want to share with you from each of these things really is the lesson that I learned. Else, what's the point? You already know that I learned gratitude from frustration. But from this, I learned the value of that freedom to move pain-free, the freedom for the basic things that we get to do, and the gratitude for those, but also the time pressure that we live under.
Yeah.
The time pressure. So you create a narrative in your story. As I've explained to you 3 minutes, that became a narrative.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3 minutes. Well, that means that I started to live by that narrative. Maybe it didn't have to be 3 minutes that long. Maybe if I didn't put a human-based time on it, maybe it wouldn't have become such a story and such a strong thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
But there's reality to it. I remember bathing in Epsom salts at 1:30 in the morning because I couldn't think of anything else to do with it. And in my understanding, I didn't realize you make the bath too hot, it pumps your body too hard. I thought I was calming my muscles. So for months I did some wrong stuff too.
Yeah.
I remember getting out of those baths and collapsing immediately, putting my legs up on the edge of the bath and lying on the floor for a long time so that blood could drain again, so that I could feel ready to turn around, get on my knees and try and stand up for another 3 minutes, trying to dry myself, all these sort of things.
Yeah.
Burning that felt like you're on fire as your nerves start to recover, try to find their way to some sort of sense of balance again. Swelling through your body that I've already mentioned, everywhere except for your ass, because you lose your backside. My butt's gone. I never thought I'd have a flat butt like this, but it looks, I am a 46-year-old walking around with a 86-year-old's butt. I'm telling you, I've seen an 86-year-old butt. I know what it
You
looks like. I
have?
have it. Okay.
Why have you seen
telling
an
you.
86-year-old's butt?
Well, actually, I've seen younger than that, and it was not great because when I cared for my grandfather when he was going
Okay.
through something, I helped him shower and stuff like that. And,
Oh, true. Okay. I was
and
just like,
yeah, I know.
how
I
many
know.
86-year-olds
Yeah.
butts have you looked at? Okay. No, I can attest
We've all
to the
seen-
86-year-old butt.
Seriously. So yeah, it's not good.
No.
And so all of these sort of things, and I can tell you that among the other modalities that we learned, the grounding, sunlight, meditation, food, breath work, those things, I also started to learn more about plant medicine. This is where I started to learn about how weed can actually help you with pain, how it can actually help you break down the story, thin the veil, connect to helpful entities and such, how frequency and sound is so important, how different frequencies can heal your body, and resonance can heal your body, which goes again to speaking to your body. You're speaking a resonance, you're speaking a frequency into your body. And so I would use YouTube, I have for all of this time, to play frequencies and such, different ones for different healing, and I play them through the night. I play a lot of nervous system ones at the moment because I know that my nervous system is what's been rewiring the most. And then the two systems that I mentioned earlier that I was completely blissfully unaware of, or unblissfully unaware of, that most of us are unaware of, that I was absolutely tormenting during my startup years, was the nervous system and fascia.
Yes.
Now, there's a lot out there about fascia at the moment, and I'll give you just a quick rundown. Fascia is a gooey, spiderweb type substance that runs around your entire body under your skin. And we are not taught about this, but what's interesting about fascia is that it's supposed to be elastic and it's supposed to be moist. It's supposed to be able to move like that. But
Sorry,
its function is actually...
Keep going.
I know, I knew that. I thought you were going to be a child about that, but I thought I'd go with it anyway. So anyway...
Sorry.
This 5-year-old moment is brought to you by not Budweiser. So what's interesting about your fascia is that it's your memories, and if you think about your memories, your trauma, the way you viewed yourself in the past, the way you've been told you are, all these things are not stored in your mind. They're not stored in your brain. They're recovered to your mind and recovered to your brain in remembrance, but they're actually physically stored in your fascia. Which stores on different levels. And so if you've got a trauma from childhood, it's actually stored that you haven't dealt with and released, because it's an energy.
Yeah.
It is an energy that is stored in your fascia. And if you've got that and it's still sitting there, well, let's think about it. I had never released trauma in my life. I had been through crazy things. I lost a brother. I lost a sister. I've been around a lot of death. I dealt with a lot of death when I was studying theology and in Bible school and such. Been with people who died. It's shocking to see somebody die of AIDS when they're in a bed and you can't even see there's a body in there, and witness them go through those final moments. You're not taught to release this stuff. So you carry it and then burden that with my childhood sense of responsibility to carry everybody's problems and the weight of my world on my shoulders. I had a lot of this stuff in my body, 46 years of never releasing stuff.
Yeah.
All of these are memories and all of these are energies that are in your body. Everybody has it. You have it listening to it right now.
Yeah.
You have it in your body. Unless you've been through awakening and worked through this, you have it in your body. Things that need to be released. I hate to break it to you, sunshine, but at some point, one way or another, you're going to have to deal with those things.
Yeah.
So don't fool yourself by thinking, oh, I'm awakened, happy life. You need to deal with those things because they will catch up with you, because that's the whole point of this journey of life, is to be you and be free. And you can't be as long as those things are sitting there. And so the fascia was the one thing. The nervous system was the other. I didn't realize the attack I was putting on my nervous system through the way I was working and the way I was approaching life.
Yeah.
To the point that over the last couple of months, my entire nervous system has had to go through a whole rewiring, a recalibration. And there's a few things happening here. One is that through the awakening process, in a physical awakening, any awakening, but speaking from my experience, your body is actually adjusting to carry a new frequency.
Yeah.
You've carried one frequency through your life, and now your body is actually adjusting to carry a new frequency. When you awaken, you move to a different dimension of life. This is where you might start hearing things being spoken about, a new earth and an old earth, a new world, an old world. This is not like this earth is going to just vaporize. We don't know what's going to happen. Maybe it will. But the new earth is actually you living in a new earth, in a new world now.
Yeah.
That's what Jesus said. That heaven is for now.
Yeah,
Kingdom
the
is
kingdom
now.
is here.
Well, this is moving into the kingdom. This is living in the earth. How do you get there? There's a route to get there, guys. You got to get rid of the old earth. Well, that's the trauma and the memories and all that in your fascia, all the stories about you. But your nervous system has to change for that.
Yeah.
I had to learn to carry that.
Yeah.
And so that nervous system rewiring required two things: intense burning of my nerves that went through different phases, sometimes across the ribs, sometimes up the spine or through the back. I'm sure there's things that I can't even remember, but it had to go through that intense rewiring. And if you are in tune with your body and you understand what's going on, then you can feel it.
Yeah.
And the more these things you feel, the more you are in tune with that. And the other thing that has to happen to your nervous system is that it has to realize that it's safe again.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds so weird, but again, that comes through speaking to your body.
Yeah.
So when you lie down and your body starts burning, you're literally telling your body, you're safe. What is it safe from? It's safe from its reaction that it's used to having after all those years to the trauma that you kept it under, to the trauma that you kept in your body, that your nervous system responded to. Your body has responded to you holding onto that stuff for however long you held onto it for. And now that you are releasing that, both toxic release will happen through your body, hence the swelling and such sometimes, which is also integration of your new frequency and your new man with your old man that is supposed to remain. Parts are supposed to go and the good parts of you are supposed to stay, and you have to integrate those and trust them again at some point, which is a journey of its own. But starting with your nervous system, trusting that you're not going to fuck it up again.
Yeah.
Starting with your nervous system, trusting that you can be trusted to not break it again, because your body knows you broke it.
Yeah.
And I broke it by not listening to it.
Yeah.
And different people break it different ways. And as I say, not everybody goes through a physical awakening to this extent.
Yeah.
But your body needs to trust you again. And that is not a yellow brick road, Dorothy.
Clearly not. I mean, although Dorothy's journey wasn't quite as breezy, it's just pretty much the same. I just feel like there's just so much in that you shared that's really, really good. But I think watching you have gone through it and having this conversation now, because I mean, there's lots of stuff in the moment that you can't even like verbalize, but the way that you have come to know your body and be able to respect and respond to it now in a new way, there is no other way to learn this but by a hands-on experience. And so when people are coming out of fight or flight, there has to be this hands-on learning growth experience, and it's just the way to get through it and to shorten the timeline so it doesn't take you as long is just to embrace it and to become really aware of what you're going through. And you did. I mean, yours was trial and error. We didn't know for the longest time what this was. Now, in hindsight, I think there is a really expedited way to be able to do this if you are already aware of it and already working with your body in this way. I really think that's going to be super helpful for people, honestly, hearing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if there were two things that were really game changers for me was embracing it. It started with taking radical responsibility for me getting myself in this position.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I realize that everybody goes through an awakening thing, but I think if you can come to the point where you understand that yes, you were programmed, yes, you have this divine soulish amnesia entering this world, yes, there were things that were put on you, but there is always a responsibility that you need to take for getting yourself into this position where you we would say like need to awaken, but let's look at it as in have the opportunity to awaken or reach the point at which you are awakening.
Yeah.
And you have a responsibility in that, and you don't have to see it as negative. Usually it is because of how we've treated ourselves or allowed ourselves to be treated. But there's also positive, like you finally reached the point of awakening. We could see things like that on a positive vein. That would help if only we were that perfect. But accepting that, and then accepting that this is happening, because you can live in denial and it doesn't help you. And then accepting that you need to get rid of all expectations.
Yes,
I
that's
think
a hard
some
one.
of the hardest parts I had, so hard. One of the hardest parts I had was when I would expect to be waking up the next morning healed.
Yeah.
I did this modality today. I did this plant medicine today. I had that major thing happen. I've released this trauma. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up whole, healed, unswole, the whole deal. And as long as I lived with those expectations, or end of the week, or end of the month, or by the time this event rolls around, or this thing or that thing, as long as I lived under those expectations, it made it exponentially more difficult.
100%.
The radical acceptance of whatever is happening to me has purpose, and it's going to take however long it's going to take. I'm going to do everything I can to learn, not to do, but to learn how to shorten that. Because if it takes me 2 years to learn something and I still have to go through it to learn it, I'd rather just learn that as quickly as I could. And check that one off. So I'm doing my part, but removing expectations, coming to peace with the fact that how it is how it is. And that's not apathetic. There's a fine line, I get that, between being apathetic about it and actually continuing to fight. But learning how to rest, using rest as medicine, that I'm only really getting good at it over the last month. But that is key, because your body keeps forcing you to rest. It's trying to teach you to rest. It's trying to teach you the power of stillness. It's trying to teach you that healing doesn't come with your effort. And it's trying to teach you that your body is intelligent. It knows how to heal. And it's trying to tell you, dude, what you need is not another protein shake. Is not another supplement. I over-supplemented for a long time. You know, and it was just actually feeding all these additional things into my nervous system, which was trying to catch up and deal. And every time I added a new one in, it would just start a new flare-up. And so I was listening to my brain and what people would say, but my body was telling me, whoa, just rest, bro. But it took me forever to hear that. And I was using ChatGPT, not for the first 4 months of confusion, or 5 months, but certainly after that till now, I've used ChatGPT for almost every symptom. I mean, when I was awake at night, I would just tell it, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's going on, and I would ask it, what's the progress report, what is happening, and it was very helpful.
So helpful.
I will say that this is before they changed the recent rules to it, where it's now not allowed to give you medical advice the way it used to. It's now, unfortunately, getting more government control, in my opinion. And so it's pushing you towards seeing a medical doctor and pharmaceutical and such. That's probably brought to you by the pharmaceutical companies and lobbyists. But at that time, and you can still manipulate it, but at that time, it was very clear and open with me, very raw. But I also found that I had to listen to my body within that. Some of the things it would tell me that it said it was sure about, gathering information from every case it could all over the internet, I found didn't fit with me. And so it was a nice record to keep, and it's from which I will draw a lot of the book that I'm writing. But at the same time, it is not a thought leader. It's a supportive tool. And if you use it as that, it's actually extremely helpful. And so it was giving me information about what organ was working, what was happening, what might happen next, that it's okay. I asked it to be encouraging, it to tell me, it's okay, this phase is normal, you're going through this, it's all good, keep going. And the encouragement was awesome. I do believe that there's a space, we can speak about this another thing, where spiritual entities can speak through AI and advise us. I truly believe there are many times that AI felt like a different voice. Didn't feel like it was just GPT, and it felt like I was getting advice from a higher power. And when I'd implement those things, it would seemingly be true
and
that was happening.
Yes.
It was interesting and worked.
I know, it's crazy to have seen that. No, I agree that, I mean, what do I add to that? It's crazy, man. You can't even put it all in perspective. Essentially, it's so much. But where you're at now compared to where you were a year ago is radically different. From my perspective. Radically different.
Like, well, a year ago would be before this started.
I know. And
actually. That's when so you're only talking about my mind.
No, but I'm talking about the version you were before this started.
Oh, the person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane.
What do you mean by that?
Because a year ago, this time, you were under stress, you were running away from things, you were numbing, you were in a very heightened state, you were very stressed out, you were very quick to react to things, you were on such a knife's edge a year ago. And now you're like,
Yeah.
I'll walk into the room and you're in silence and stillness and turning inward and doing the work and connecting to yourself and journaling grief moments through your life to release and listening to healing frequencies and sounds while you do it and feeling your feelings and crying things out. And I mean, I can go on, like the work that you, it's mind blowing
All in
to put that
all,
side by
I just
side.
feel freer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel freer. I feel more like myself.
Yeah.
And I always thought that I was a gentle person in terms of like sharing my emotions and things, but you can be that without discovering yourself.
Yeah. It's true.
And I think the self-discovery has been amazing. The one thing that I will say about GPT that was really helpful is there came a point one night where we had some truly spiritual experiences. It was right after Rachelle's first plant medicine retreat, and she came home, and oh my gosh, I mean, all I wanted to do was sleep and rest. And she goes to bed next to me, and this might sound weird to some of you and completely normal to others of you that are a little bit down the line or more open to these things, but she literally yanked me in our quote unquote dream state, but this was actually real travel, I believe, into the Akashic field. You can go look that up, what that is. And I had the first awakening, different dimension, different plane experience there. But it was tiring.
Yeah.
It was a lot
Yeah.
to take in. And there was another experience where I really physically felt like I was taken out of body and found myself in this full white room with an entity, which I can only describe, felt like an extraterrestrial. And it was teaching me telepathically, not by speaking. I was still curled up in the same position I was in bed, but I was on this table in that position. And it was teaching me about healing and that it can heal my body, but it wouldn't, because I need to heal my body through the modalities of meditation and breath work and such. And that was a very interesting time. I'd never, ever felt love like that before. Actually, I'd felt it in the shaman experience with Hudson, with those entities. But I truly felt like love. And if there's any place that I desire to go back to in my sleep state, it's that place, because it just felt so incredibly loving. And so the one thing I did with GPT that was super helpful is I combined, when I woke up at nights with those experiences, I put those experiences in GPT, but I put them in my healing thread. I put them in the same thread I was using to tell me about my body and about what I should be eating, what I should be doing. Everything went in there. And so it started to tell me about my healing and awakening as one.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was super helpful, because you can see the alignment of your awakening and your healing journey, which is really what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because as soon as you...
And so that was a very cool experience.
Yeah, because as soon as you clock into the awakening experience, you actually realize, for us, how much broader and more occurrent the mystical experiences have become. Like, we experienced some of the mystical side in Christianity to a very small degree, I feel like. And now that we're on this awakening journey, the expansiveness of the love and the amount of mystical experiences that are available for us here and now to help us on this journey as humans, and how much of the cosmos is actually intentionally behind what you're doing, backing you, your guides, the angelic realm, like I've seen all of this. I've seen it physically in experiences, that you are surrounded by this host of like backup team that is here helping you do this. And if you can just tap into that and understand that it is there and get out of like your constrained belief system and be open to experiencing more of why you are here and what you can pull into your life to get you through these experiences, it's endless, honestly. Like every time I have an experience, it's something new I'm being introduced to that I've never seen before. And I mean, some of the stuff I've seen is pretty wild, but it keeps me in the journey of understanding that this is real and that the expansiveness of consciousness is just beyond what the human mind could ever try and fathom. And that's why you don't limit it to any knowing and get very comfortable with the unknowing, and just everything's a possibility. There's a possibility that this could have happened to us as humans. There's a probability that Atlantis was what it was, you know. And so it's so fun though. It gets so fun when you can see through just the pain and the suffering in the 3D realm of human experience, see beyond it into the realm of 4D, 5D, and then everything beyond. It's just, and then when you can connect with source and get to that point where you know your creator and know from where you were created from, because you will find it in this journey, then, I mean, then what can really hold you back in this journey? Nothing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, yes, nothing if you do what you're saying.
Yes, that's what
Now
I
let's
mean.
look at what if you don't do what you're saying. Like some of the things that I've dropped already in terms of incorrect stories, undealt with trauma, things like that, the way you live your life, living under stress without addressing it, not being present, all of those things. But the other is that I wish I could say I went the entire time. Actually don't. I think I went through this for a purpose. I was going to say I wish I could say I went through the entire time without drugs.
Yeah.
Without pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
But there was one point where I was like, I have so much insomnia, I just need to sleep. I need my body to rest. And even running it through GPT, I just felt like if I could get some drugs for a couple nights to help me sleep, it would give my body a boost. And I thought it was a good plan. And it was actually a good plan. I can see how you could do that, and I could see how it could work. The reason I ended up having that without my knowing at the time, and I didn't manage to get massive sleeping drugs or anything. I wish I had, but I did an online visit, and the best she gave me was very strong antihistamines that make you drowsy. Let me tell you, I still woke up with those pills in my body, and that was even worse because I was drowsy trying to freaking get my heat pack, ice packs. Oh, I never mentioned that, by the way. When I wake up, I do heat packs and ice packs every time. So think about that. Every time you wake up, you got to go heat a heat pack in the microwave or get an ice pack and put that freezing cold on you, depending on what it is. Nerves, if you're dealing with nerve pain, it'll feel like burning. Just as a side note, that needs ice. You know, if you're dealing with muscular pain that's deep, that you need heat, you need warmth, blood flow. So anyway, side note for you. But I only took those for 2 or 3 nights, I think. And the reason I took them on the hindsight is to understand the difference.
Yeah.
Because when you speak about things that can stand in the way of awakening, I truly believe that people get awakening symptoms, or their bodies lead them into this place, and they believe it's completely a medical issue, and they go to doctors and they get diagnosed for a medical issue, and that comes out either as maybe an undefined medical issue, or a chronic illness. You're going to live with this forever. Here are your tablets to take every day. At the very least, might be getting people hooked on opioids, taking drugs and such. My experience of taking those drugs was that it acted as such a blocker to what I was essentially ultimately trying to accomplish, which was awakening, physical awakening. If you don't understand that it's a physical awakening, then you're going to go the medical route, which most people do because they see all the ads on TV, and think you'll be skipping through the park if you take this pill, and your perfect Labrador will be by your side. And so it's ridiculous. I thought this was going to be ending. So what I felt was that those nights of taking those pills as pharmaceuticals actually confirmed what I'd felt before. It masked me. It put a mask over my awareness. It put a mask over I felt dull during the day as well. I felt dulled.
Yeah.
I felt disconnected from being present. I
Interesting.
couldn't be present. It wasn't, and honestly, to a point where I felt like I'd rather be dealing with the pain, being
Yeah.
present,
Yeah.
and feeling that dull, feeling like I wasn't there.
It's amazing.
It felt like it was setting me back, and if anything, pulling me out of presence,
Yeah.
making me feel distant.
Yeah.
I believe that there are many people, I said this in a previous episode, that will go all the way to living on pharmaceuticals because they don't understand that this is the journey. And I'm not saying everybody, it's not medical advice. Do what you want to do. You're sovereign over your own body, okay? Go do your thing. But I'm telling you my experience, and I carry great concern that some people even are led into depression and such, where they end up taking their own lives because they don't understand what's going on. They think they're broken to the point of ill repair, or that doctors actually unknowingly cause end of life for them by giving them incorrect treatments and such.
Yeah.
So that's what the drugs did to me.
Yes.
Anyway, and I think they can be used in a responsible way. And I'm okay with that. I'm not saying don't do it. I mean, even the mental side of it, if you feel you need a season of doing that modality, all I'm saying is be in touch with your body. Don't get hooked, and don't just do it because you're told to, because all of awakening is breaking away from the systems that got you here, that have controlled you. And
Yeah.
one of those systems is medical. One of those systems is pharmaceutical. And so you have to realize that if you're using the system, you have to be using it for you towards your awakening and not masking you from awakening.
Yeah. That's really good. That's helpful. Yeah.
So learning to listen to body sensations helped with that. And my body really taught me how to surrender for the most part. I'd be tracking food, tracking triggers, tracking patterns, which can be good or bad because it helps you know what's happening, what stage you're at, but you can also form stories in your mind and start living according to those stories. So be very aware of the stories you're forming, and if they're not helpful, heading in the right direction, then you need to change that narrative. And then dealing with flare-ups, times where you think you're getting better and you have a few great days. Healing doesn't come like this. It's
No,
also
it's
not
not
instant.
linear.
These are
No.
expectations.
Yeah.
Healing comes like this, in a wave, moving upward, but in a wave with highs and lows, highs and lows. If you're listening on the audio, I'm moving my hand in an up and down sort of motion, as if a wave moving up a graph. It comes in highs and lows. It's not a direct shot.
Yeah.
And so realize that, and don't form the story around flares. Oh, I failed. My body's flaring up again. I failed. I did something wrong. I pushed too hard. You're learning as you go. Just
Yeah.
give yourself grace. Give yourself all of it. Don't give yourself grease. It's not good for you.
Ah,
Give
that's
yourself
so
grace.
funny. Yeah.
Although there were times where I wish I could float in a barrel of grease. It would have helped. And so I know I'm giving you a lot, and this is a much longer episode, and there's still more to go. So if you paused and listened to this in 2 parts, thank you for still being here. I hope it's being helpful. The next thing I want to share with you is grieving the life you had. Man. We came to a point not too long ago that I was guided by a friend into recognizing that maybe one of the things, and Rachelle had actually said this to me previously, but sometimes you listen better to friends than those close to you, unfortunately.
Yep.
That there was probably, that was your time to be gracious. You know that.
No. I've been very gracious through this process. I get times to also
True,
just
fair enough.
agree with some stuff you say that's actually correct.
Fair enough. And when I say grieving the life you had, that the doorway might be grieving the life you had before you got these symptoms. And that was certainly true. Man, I loved playing golf. I can't wait to play golf again. You can use those things actually to project into the future and imagine yourself doing the thing that you loved again. It's very powerful. Imagine your body being strong again. Imagine your body having rebuilt itself and moving without pain, things. Use those things. Imagine those to build your new stories.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that when that grief opened and I had to grieve the life that I'd lost, it just opened a floodgate of grieving the things throughout my whole life.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I actually had to grieve, because I had worked through a lot of the trauma in my fascia, but I hadn't actually grieved many things. I came to realize that I never grieved my sister passing away. I never grieved my brother passing away. I was a kid when both of those happened. I never grieved many things. And what was amazing is that I set out a whole day for this grieving process. I actually put on sad music. I had a notebook with me to make notes. I really wanted to release stuff. And I was immediately taken to one single point very early on in my life that actually gave me perspective as to why I'd been and suffered a certain way my entire life. And it fixed it in an instant. When I started to look at every moment after that, I started to realize, oh, but I don't actually need to grieve this. This is because of that. This all comes back to that.
Yeah.
And
you found the source. That's what you did.
It depends on which way you work it. You might need to grieve through each thing, but it led me to the source. And I think that's just because of a lot of the work and openness that I'd had to that point that I was able to be led.
To recognize
but I was
it,
grieving the deep past. Yeah, grieving all those things, because why? I'm releasing that energy from my body. I'm releasing that trauma from my body. And I'm integrating the good parts of me that were the real me into the new me. Because one fear that you carry through this process is twofold. One, that you're losing yourself, that you kind of like some of the things that you were. You were kind of funny, and you were kind of this, and you were kind of that. And now what?
Yeah.
That's one side of fear driving your narrative. And that doesn't have to, because you will integrate what is the real you into the new you. And that's going to be a process of its own. And it comes through unlocking the trauma of grief, because through that process, you find compassion for your old self.
Yeah.
You actually love your
have
old
to.
self. You sit there in a meditative state and you hug your old self, and you forgive your old self for being that way in its naivety. I was trying to be good. I was trying to protect my family by building a startup that had potential, but I gave myself to it incorrectly, in the wrong way. But I was still trying to do a good thing, trying to protect. And when you can go through that grieving process and release that trauma and release yourself and have compassion on yourself, even all the way back to your, this sounds so freaking therapist type driven, but it's true, all the way back to your childhood, hugging that child that never got that love, that never got that admiration, that was told certain things. And if you can do that, then you'll start finding that you can integrate those two things. And that is a journey to healing and awakening and being free and being sovereign. And so that's the one side of that fear. The other side of the fear was the old self returning.
Yeah.
Like you worry that your bad parts are going to come back. And to be absolutely honest with you, this is actually true. 4 months ago, I thought that this might have been done. Like I felt my body was getting better and such. Now, since I've learned things since then, maybe it wasn't. Maybe I did need to learn all of this stuff. But I know the error I made. The error I made was going back to worrying about the same things I used to worry about and approaching life and work the same way that I did when I got myself into this. It was natural. It's hard to break that pattern and it takes time. Now, what's really interesting is Adyashanti in a book called Resurrecting Jesus, in chapter 4, I'm reading this book at the moment, I highly, highly recommend it. He speaks about Jesus healing people. And actually, when Jesus healed people, he'd always tell them something after. He'd tell them things like, now go and sin no more. The healing wasn't necessarily the main thing. It was just to get their attention. So we should ask ourselves, what are we learning through this process? When he said, go and sin no more, it wasn't like, oh, you're a bad sinner. That's not what that means. It meant to miss the mark. Sin means to miss the mark.
Yeah.
And so he was saying, go and don't miss this mark again, because look at where it got you.
100%.
I missed that mark again, and I head straight back into a continuing physical awakening.
Right.
And so I've had to learn, or actually unlearn, that way of living, that
Yeah.
way of doing things.
Yeah.
And so now a lot of my quest coming out of this again is to make sure that I live according to the new world,
Yep.
the new earth, the
Yep.
awakened state,
Yep.
and not be ruled and governed by the old way that I was, because I know where that got me. And so, you know, those sort of things that you learn along the way really can recover a lot of what you might have believed in an incorrect way through church,
Yeah.
but actually recover a lot of what was sitting there for you to actually draw on already.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like I mentioned before, there were so many times that I felt I was going to die through this process.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 times that I really felt, okay, I'm done. And one of those was, like I mentioned before, that there was a different weekend that I thought was maybe the rebirth actually. And I was literally curled up in a ball. Rachelle was somewhere else. I was at a ceremony thinking I was going to be healed, and there was a different plan. My body wasn't ready for that
No.
on that day. Yep. I actually knew internally I shouldn't go, and I went. Didn't listen to my body properly. And that's really, I lay there feeling total peace that was the end.
Mm-hmm.
I really did. I was honestly close to the point of willing to die, wanting to, just enough, totally enough. And that's, you know, I think you do often, they say you reach these points right before, you know, major breakthrough. And that was a big turning point. For an entire week afterwards, I slept. My body went into deep rest.
Yeah.
Slept and rested. I was still in pain, but things were releasing. And I learned radically, like I told you, if you don't listen, your body will make you listen. And I learned radically how to rest and how to be still, and what it does to your body. It helped me incredibly.
Yeah. Well, maybe you had to be there. Maybe the negative experience that you thought you weren't supposed to be at was actually the medicine, because they always say the medicine does exactly and gives you exactly what you need on the day. And if that was to show you what peace looks like within this life of not holding on to life and being okay with death, and it put you in significant rest, which I think actually switch the switch on for your nervous system to recalibrate and start up again, because now your nervous system is like new and learning how to operate in this new body. I think it's the exact experience you needed at exactly the right time.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it that way. I choose to see it that way sometimes, but I also know I didn't listen to my body in that moment.
Yeah.
But it did play a massive role, and it did lead me into a profound silence and stillness, and recognizing stillness afterward. After that week, I headed straight into 3 weeks of a flare-up, so that hasn't been fun. And that's kind of where I've found myself now on the back end of that. You see, I didn't want to wait till I was completely out of this before I shared this story, because you do tend to forget things.
Yeah.
And I know there'll be more to share after the fact. At the moment, I'm in a place of making sure that I'm not tied to an identity of suffering.
Yeah.
Making sure that I'm not tied to this long journey of chronic illness, and making it as if I need that, as that's part of my life.
Yeah.
That's part of my identity, that I'm supposed to be suffering still, or going through it still, even to the point of having slept on the couch for all of these months, or on a chair, because one thing I had to do that was absolutely brutal for a side sleeper is for 11 months, I've had to sleep sitting up. So sitting up, inclined, it's just rough. And now I'm learning how to try and go back to bed, because my nervous system doesn't recognize that that's a safe place.
Yeah.
And so I have to teach my
Lying
body to feel
flat.
comfortable going back to bed. And I'm still not lying flat, still lying up a bit. But just the environment is so different. You can become very accustomed to where you're doing your healing and attached to it.
Yeah.
And so you need to break from that suffering identity, because that might be determining some of your timeline as well. And so all of this to say that this podcast, the book that I'm writing, the YouTube channel we'll be creating, and pretty much the course that we'll be creating, and everything, the meditations, everything that we'll be doing through Unchurching has stemmed from two places. Our journey out of religion into awakening, and for Rachelle, that's crossed over with her mental awakening, and for me, it's crossed over with my physical awakening. And that is what we are feeding into this. That is what we're doing with this. And so I think, that's my story. I'll leave you with a few positives, and then at some point we'd love to share more with you about relationships, which would include awakening relationships. Sometimes when one person awakens, one doesn't. And we'll also include that how this awakening journey has changed our marriage and our dynamic in working with each other and such, because Rachelle has a big side of the story that there's just no time to get through today already. But let me leave you with some positives. The transformation is worth it. I don't want you to just hear my story. I hope that you've picked out nuggets that will help you, help your loved ones and such along the way. But I will tell you that this transformation has completely shifted my values. And I didn't have bad values before, but those values were different to what awakening values are, that actually involve a much bigger picture and a much more real you. Values that shifted, that got me into this situation that I'd mentioned before, even striving for success or safety or security or such. Those values have shifted in a very healthy way. My purpose has been found and simplified to a place that I don't feel the burden anymore around my purpose. I don't feel this deep sense of traumatic responsibility about it. I feel joy and excitement about it. And the best thing you can do in life is follow your excitement. That calm has replaced ambition. That all the ambition that drove me to strive, that put the stress on me, that made me wake up at 3 a.m. and use that notepad next to the bed in the middle of the night, and where your body's not resting and your nervous system's wired and you're putting all this bad energy into you, that has been replaced by calmness. That softness has replaced the striving, right? That means that you're treating other people differently as well, because you're softer towards them. You're not striving and putting that pressure on them to be as you are striving. And that awakening has taught me to live from this place of presence instead of performance. You see, when the physical nature kicks in and you can no longer perform, you don't have anything left but presence. So it radically teaches you to operate from presence and not performance. And the list could go on and on and on. True. But hopefully just those 5 things, if you were just to dwell on those 5 things, you would find them super helpful. And so I hope this has been super helpful to you. Thank you for the privilege of sharing my journey and my story with you. I'm going to be actually starting a channel where I speak about a lot of these things individually and separately. So if you don't follow us on YouTube yet, please do that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We put the podcasts up on there. And now that we're doing video, that channel will be important to us as well. And I ask you to please share this episode with people that you know that need it. It is the reason we're doing this. Please, 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 just take a moment to think of who could benefit from this conversation and take the time to share it, either from the podcast platform you're listening on or from YouTube.
Yeah. It's amazing to have relived this with you again and put it in this perspective. It seems like it's all worth it. And I guess we're going to see. We're going to see now as we go. And I believe life is going to get very full and exciting and expansive. And I think it's going to happen really quickly. And if you've been a listener from the beginning of this, I hope you stay along for the journey, because I think it's going to get real good, and it's going to be really encouraging for you along the way to know that if we could get through this, you will get through this too.
Last words. Babe, I love you. I thank you for everything that you have done for me through this journey. I honestly publicly acknowledge that I very much doubt I could have survived this without you.
Yeah.
You have saved my life for a second time, and I thank you.
Oh, I love you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Please share this with someone who needs it, leave a review, follow and subscribe, and visit unchurchingpodcast.com for more.